Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, I am chatting with narrator Allyson Voller. Welcome to the podcast, Allyson. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Me too. And we're going to get to lots of goodies and stuff. So why don't we start with the best goodie of them all?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you got started.
Oh, sure. Of course. I'm a Midwest gal. I grew up around the suburbs of Chicago. I still currently live in the suburbs of Chicago. And I've been an actor pretty much my entire adult life, doing stage work, doing commercials, both on camera, doing voiceover commercials. And so when I transitioned into voiceover commercials is when I had my children. And then that kind of naturally led me to audiobook narration. And, I kind of dabbled with audiobook narration, maybe starting in, 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And then it snowballed. And so that's pretty much what I do now full time is I'm an audiobook narrator. I still act and do all that other stuff too, but yeah.
Okay. And now you've been doing voiceover narration now for how many years?
So voiceover narration, like with commercials and everything?
Well, a little bit of both maybe, or like how long have you been? Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, I don't want to age myself.
You started when you were 5, so
Exactly.
It's not going to hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a child actor. I don't know, maybe at least 15-ish years, somewhere in there. So I have teenagers now, and I started when I was like newly pregnant with them, because I was like, there is nobody that's going to hire a pregnant lady for whatever, unless you're a pregnant lady, but
yeah. But man, audiobooks, they don't care. It can be sultry and sexy, and the girl next door with no pregnancy.
Yes. No, I love that. I love that. You can be anything. And I that's one of the reasons why I love audiobook work, is because it reminds me so much of theater, and yet you get to play all the parts. And so that's like super fun.
Yeah. It's Audible is saying that you have about, and I always say about because it's Audible, and fill in the blanks as to why the number can be off. But it's saying that right now you have about 158 titles narrated by Allyson.
Yeah.
That's a lot, girl.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'm like, that cannot be right. I have no way. I don't have that many, but yeah, I do. And then, under my alter ego, I have a few others too, but yeah, I'm so lucky. I can't believe I've got that many.
I know. Yeah. It's just, I love it when there's an alter ego that just adds more to the number.
Gives you that little push.
Yeah. But at the same time, I always say that, an accomplishment's an accomplishment, regardless if it's 1,000 or the first 5.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
you worked on that, and you've cultivated that experience and things like that. But there's a lot here from a variety of different, anything for any listener basically is here. And also I'm sure with your alter ego, there's a couple of other stuff too that people can dive into that are in there. But since starting back in about 2015, based off again, more or less, how has your process so you've been cast in a book, you've received a manuscript either from the production company / or the author / or the publisher. How does that process for you change now that you've been doing it for so many years, the whole prepping of a book and going into it?
That's a great question. I think I'm a lot more organized than I started out being, because it was just kind of like when I started out, I was like, oh, great. Yay. Okay, let's do it. Now I'm like, all right, I've got a production calendar, and I've got, like you said, my process. So when I get cast in the book, the very, very first thing I do is I put all of my due dates in my calendar. So I have that right off the bat. I'm not like super color coded, but I do color code. So just because I can keep stuff straight easier that way. And then once I receive the manuscript, I use Dropbox a lot. So I make different files in Dropbox for various projects that I'm doing. And then within those files, I organize with my contract, with my manuscript, with any character notes, and then obviously the audio files and voices. It's important to keep audio files of different voices, especially if you're doing a series. I keep those in there too, and all of my prep work. So going back to your question, because I digressed a little, when I get my manuscript, I typically sit down, I start reviewing it, reading it. I'm much better at making notes than I was when I first started. I mean, I hate saying that, but it's true. I'm a better note taker. I make very detailed notes about characters and that kind of thing, storylines. Yeah. And then once I get the green light, I like to start recording pretty much right away, because I'm kind of a nerd about hitting my deadlines.
Oh no, you mean you're a professional.
I just want to make sure I get
deadlines exist. Oh, how dare you.
Deadlines exist and life happens. So sometimes stuff comes up and you're like, but if I know that I at least started the book or started, the process, then I'm less anxious when those crazy life moments pop up. So
yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult lessons of a narrator that happens maybe within the first 5 years.
Yes,
is learning to budget time for unexplainable life events.
It's true, and it happens, and I think that's why I was so green when I first started, because I think back to when I first started, and I was like, I was careful and I was professional because I had my acting background, and so I kind of knew, what I needed to do and the process. But from there to now, it's like, okay, I know I can record X amount of hours per day. I know I've got this much time to do it. Oh, I got to run my kids to various activities. So on this day, I only have a little bit, less time than I did yesterday. So, I just really try to budget my time so much better. And I think I've learned to be better about my time. Having the color-coded calendar definitely helps. So.
Yeah. I think that with because a lot of people don't stop to talk about it from a business perspective. You guys are freelancers.
Yeah.
And from a freelancing mindset, it's hard to say no, because everything is basically project work. There's a start, a middle, and an end, and that's it. There is no salary. There is no anything else. It's that project. And so if you were to, heaven forbid, say no, then the mind starts wandering with, I will never get another job again.
Oh my gosh.
And you don't know when that author may never come and contact me, or the production company. And that's where I think those first 5 years tends to happen with a lot of narrators, in that fear of not being asked to do another book ever again comes to play. And that's where they get overbooked. And that's where sometimes they're struggling. They're narrating at all crazy hours.
Yeah.
They forgot that they had a family vacation trip.
Right.
And now
somebody's getting married and you have to travel or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those Brickstone booths are not good for travel.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's a great job.
It is. No, it is. It is a great job. And those first few years are really good at figuring out that process, figuring out the business process, and even truthfully figuring out you as a freelancer and how that's going to work for you. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's different for everybody. And what may work for someone else may completely doesn't work for me. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, but you can evolve and you can grow and just adapt.
Yeah. And learning what the speed looks like for you.
Yeah.
When you first start is going to also then completely, because like with any skill, you're honing it, you're going to get faster, you're going to get better at it.
Yes.
So, fast forward now, what may have taken you an hour in prep now is taking you 45 minutes or half an hour.
That is correct.
And those are things to that factor. So for anybody out there that is going, oh, hell no. Or, or is also thinking, I got this. I go, you may want to start color coding and things like that. It happens. It's like with any skills. Trust me, the chefs feel the same way. The corporate 500 executive feels the exact same way, though sometimes they may not admit to it. But yeah.
When I started color coding, between you and me, holy cow, it kind of changed. It was kind of a game changer. Right? Like I never thought about doing that before. And then I was like, wow, this really makes a difference.
I get made fun of at times. And it's like, oh, she's so cute. When I talk about spreadsheets and color coding and they're going, damn, girl. And I'm like, no, listen. Once I have all the information in there and I color code and I realize and I learned what each of my colors are going to mean, I can literally just glimpse at the spreadsheets and know that I have 2 of this, 5 of that, and 3 over there. And I know automatically that what I can do. The details of who, I don't know, it doesn't matter at the moment in time. I can look that up later. But what I know is that glimpse of knowing what that is. But also it's almost, if you do any color coding of project complete, oh, that's so good.
It's very satisfying.
Yes.
I like to do it with my emails too, because in Google, you can color code your emails. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then, like if it's in this folder, oh, I'm done with that. That's done. Okay. And then, projects, great. I can clean that out and move it to completed once, the project's off my plate. But yeah. And I thought I never pictured myself as a color code kind of a gal, but holy cow, it changed my whole perspective.
We're going to welcome you to the club of a lady on the streets and a freak on the spreadsheets.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Narrator Megan Tucci and I are both like that. We just love spreadsheets. And then we realized that there was I think there was like a mug or a tote, and we're like, we gotta get that.
I was gonna say it should go in a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I may have to start getting some swag with that just for those individuals. I'm like, here you go. Those are my people.
That's funny.
So now that you have things color coded on your spreadsheet and you have, characters identified of who's speaking on when on your script, how do you decide, aside from obviously the descriptions and the information, but those tones and those little nuances for each of the characters? How do you go about, what's that process look like?
For me, it comes very organically, but I also look for clues in the text. So authors are very good, obviously, at writing descriptive words about characters. So you can look to see what, the authors have said about those characters, what the other characters say about those characters, how they react to one another. And I kind of use that to let it guide me into, making character choices and how, and how that character sounds. For me, sometimes sometimes it will feel wrong. And so I'll go back to the drawing board and just start over. But sometimes if it feels right, I just go with it. And then, once I'm in my groove and I've got that set and I've got my character files organized, it feels so put together for me.
Yeah. It's always good when that happens. I know sometimes it's usually those scenes where all the characters decide to have dinner at the same time in the same place, and you're looking at the author virtually, of course, and going, really? Because everybody is literally at the table. I think those are those moments where you're going, okay, give me a minute.
Yeah, I know. Let me roll up my sleeves and figure this out here. Yeah, the first time I did a duet book, I was like, wait, you mean I don't have to come up with any dudes' voices?
Nice.
It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I think that's become one of the reasons as a favorite for some of the narrators, is because that's just one less thing you guys have to think about and worry about. And now it just becomes of more within the range. And you guys also get to have a little bit more fun, because sometimes there are those characters, like from a heroine's perspective or the female and the femme's perspective, where she may have a bit of a husky or sultry voice, but you can't go there sometimes because you're going to use that a little bit of that lower range for one of the dudes.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
When doing duet, you can have a little bit more leeway with that.
Yeah.
So one of the other things too that listeners are literally suckers for are accents.
Yes.
And we all have our favorites, but I also have a feeling you guys have a favorite accent to perform. What is that for you?
That's a great question too. I really love like the nitty kind of accents. So like a really good Southern twang, Texas twang is great fun to do. I completely mess around with, like, even at home with my kids and stuff and my husband, I'll mess around with like speaking in a Russian accent or, you know, something along those lines. I'm Eastern European by nationality. And so like I grew up with a lot of those kind of accents around me. But yeah, so like that Scottish is a lot of fun. I just learned to do Australian and I'm having a blast kind of working through that one. But yeah, I think I just kind of have fun playing around with accents. I don't know if I have a favorite. Okay. I have to say. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that that Australian is working out for you. I know sometimes I think that's when I ask the question about like what's the most difficult ones for you guys to perform. Sometimes South African is one.
Oh, that would be
Australian's another one because it's very easy to fall into British with an
Yes,
Australian.
it is. Or yeah, and it's very similar to like a Cockney accent, so you have to be careful. That's true. Yeah. And South African, I think, sounds really similar to Australian as well.
Yeah, there's just some of the words and things like that. And I think that obviously because of colonization, there's always going to be a bit of the British in there.
That's true.
From that perspective. But even the British itself, it's almost like I would rather as a listener just have, oh, okay, they're from England. Right. There's that British accent. But it's when they get deeper diving. I think it happens significantly more in historicals or more detailed contemporaries where they bust out with the Cockney. Or he sounded like kind of like the Beatles or in those contemporaries. Like he kind of reminded me of that interview that I saw my dad watching the other day with the Beatles and stuff like that. And so it's those specific ones that are harder to then perform, I think, a lot of times, unless
it's true.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that with easier on the listeners, because when I was in college, I was a theater major and we did a show where the characters had to have a Cockney accent. And after a few rehearsals, the director just said, you know what, just forget it. Just do a British accent. Just do something generic, because the Cockney was so hard to hear or get through, or maybe we just sucked at our accent work. But I mean, that's always a possibility. But he was just like, you know what, just stick with British. Just stick with your standard RP, please.
It's very similar to when people are like, oh my God, I love the Scottish accent, or oh my God, I love the British accent. And I'm like, you guys are getting like the light version of it, because we probably wouldn't be able to understand half of it, if not or more, because there is a speed, there is more dialect, there is a thickerness to it. And if they were going full-blown Scottish, it wouldn't be as romantic and sexy.
No, I think it would be kind of harsh, like that. Braveheart kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. And it's just I that's where I think a lot of people have now realized that it's just a matter of giving us that hint of us knowing where it's from.
Yeah, like a taste. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then again, I mean, I think I've talked about this in the past in other shows where there's been these reviewers where the reviewer says something like, oh my God, I did not believe his British accent at all. It sucked. Yeah, but he was born and raised in London, in England. So it's been like you obviously don't know what this sounds like, or same things very similar with, oh, I didn't believe his Irish accent at all. And it was just so bad. I don't understand why the reviews are saying, well, he's from Ireland. He's Irish.
So funny.
Yeah. I always laugh at those and I snickers like, dude, you obviously didn't do your homework. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
Yeah. You had to find those little moments of haha.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Romance, I love to describe it as an umbrella term with all the subgenres underneath it, with the PNRs, the contemporaries, the historical, so on and so forth. What is your favorite to perform?
Oh, well, I am such a sucker for a good romance. But I secretly, I adore historical fiction, especially historical fictional romance. And I also adore rom-coms. And I think the historical fiction is because of my theater background. I just love, I just love performing that kind of thing. And the rom-coms just because they're hilarious usually and silly and goofy and fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. What as soon as you said that you love historical fiction, I'm going, oh, I wonder if she's heard about TJ London's books.
Oh my gosh. I love those books.
Really?
Yes, Yay! I have heard of TJ London. And the very first book, well, I listened to, I think Trader, the first one. I was like, I couldn't put my phone down listening to that audiobook because it was so good. And so I don't have a lot of time to free read, but oh my gosh, she is on my list. I'm going to pick up the rest of the books in that series because it's so good. I love those books. If anybody hasn't heard them, you have to get them because they are fabulous.
Yes. So the first book is that's on Audible, an audio rather. It's the Tory, and that's the first one.
Oh, the Tory. Yes, the Tory.
And then the Trader is the second book. And
yes, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And she recently released Man of War. Oh my God.
Oh, I haven't heard that one, so I have to get that.
Yeah, so that's like technically the fourth book in the series, but also the prequel that happens ahead of the Tory. Okay. So you can read it in either order, but oh my God, girl. Oh my God.
Tell me about it, right?
Yeah.
Like killer, like so good.
I mean, the story itself, the plots, how she does things, and then the casting of it all. It's duet narration. I was like, Patrick Zeller, I know that you're the asshole and the villain in this, but I love you so much.
He was good. And so was Marnie. Wasn't Marnie Young?
Oh my God, Marnie and so Tara.
Good. Yes.
Oh my God, those two ladies. And then Catherine is, and Claire now is the heroine in the Man of War. And oh my God.
Okay. As soon as we're done with this, I'm going on my Audible and I'm getting these books because I need to listen to the rest of them.
Yeah. There's more coming down the pipeline. There's more coming down the pipeline for her other books because in eyeball reading, I think there's like 4 books in the series that are out. And TJ, I'm so sorry if I'm wrong in the order. But it's just one of those. She just writes so well.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when she gets in, then you get the audio, it's that additional oomph. And that's where I think that's the perfect combination of what makes an audiobook so fantastic.
I agree.
The story stands out on its own, whether you're eyeball reading it or you're listening to it, but then that performance is the caveat. You're going, yes, bonus.
It's so good. I could nerd out with you about these books all day, Viviana. Yes. I mean, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I was when I tell you were telling me that that's one of your favorites, and I'm going, I wonder. And look at you have. I'm like, yay! Well, we'll have to off the record here talk more about that once we're done because you and I can probably do an entire episode on why we love TJ London's books. So
yes, and historical fiction and
historical fiction, and then have you provide us with a list of your other favorite historical fictions for us to fall in love with as well. So
yes,
but
we'll
have to get back to that.
Yeah, put a pin in that for later.
Yeah,
I know. It's funny. The first time I said I loved historical fiction to somebody, I got the weirdest, like they gave me the weirdest look and I was like, come on, it's not that bad. It's really good.
Yeah. There's so many different camps when it comes down to the different genres. Some, romance gets a really bad rap outside of the community for it being, just basically like eyeball porn of sorts, and now earbud porn or not serious writing.
Oh, and that is so not true. Some of the best books I've ever read have been romance. I mean, my alter ego narrated an erotica series, and I thought the writing in that was fantastic. I was actually like, wow, this is quite good the way that this is written. So,
everybody has an opinion, like they have assholes.
Yeah,
everybody has
well,
one.
Yes.
But that's where I love having these conversations because when you guys share some of your favorites, the listeners and myself included are like, oh my God, me too.
Yes.
And we kind of feel like, oh yeah, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And then also we get to fall in love with you and we're going, that's another narrator I'm adding to my list of listening and what the books are coming out and stuff like that. And now you have another fan kind of thing. So aside from accents, the other thing I sometimes wonder as for narrators is there a specific type of scene, whether it's like the bantering or the smexy times or the fights that you just love to perform?
Wow. I think I have to say the banter, because if it's done, and I'm not necessarily talking about myself, but I think if it's done well, it's so good that you almost forget that there's two people talking, because it just it's like music. It just goes and flows back and forth with one another really, really well. Banter is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, I'm a nerd for comedy too. So especially like a good comedic scene that's written with some really good comedy back and forth.
Yeah.
Is a gem.
Yeah, I love when that happens, and then you're laughing out loud in the cubicle world of your day job office, and people know that you're sitting there by yourself, and they're wondering, why is Viviana laughing out loud?
Crazy. She's laughing again.
Yeah, what the hell is she listening to? Like, it's okay, guys, it's okay. Move along. Is there a genre that you have yet to narrate in that's on your bucket list, or I'm going to do this? It's going to happen.
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know if I have one just yet. Oh, wait, I do. No, I do have one.
Okay.
I think I've only done one cozy mystery, and I would love to be able to do another cozy mystery. Yeah, like a paranormal cozy mystery or something. Oh. I think that would be on my bucket list.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are always fun. The cozy mysteries, just enough, but not too much out there.
Yes. Yeah. Because I read a series recently, and it was a paranormal cozy mystery, and I was like, oh, this is so fun. I could hear this on audio, but yeah, it was really cute.
Nice.
So, mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have cozy mystery. So cozy mystery and potentially cozy mystery with paranormal elements in there. Authors, have someone to look at. I always say about putting it out into the world, right? Just putting it out there.
Yes, I agree. You got to put it out there.
Yeah. I mean, people don't know what they don't know unless you
tell them. And that's true. Yeah. And, that was a hard lesson for me to learn, is that you just have to speak up and say something. I don't know if it's a Midwestern thing, raised in the Midwest, but I never did that before. And then I kind of slowly was like, all right, well, I guess there's no harm in saying what you want and just speaking up and saying something. So yeah,
as someone that is constantly coaching and saying to friends and stuff like that, and clients, it's okay to market yourself. It's good that you're promoting yourself. Reach out to potential clients, reach out to stuff like that. I don't do it myself. It's just imposter syndrome 101.
You know what? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Take whatever they want me.
Right. They're like, they couldn't possibly. No, there's no way.
No way.
They're like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah. And then you get that email like, I've been dying to talk to you or work with you. I'm like, you have? Oh, okay.
And you're like, oh, thank you.
I know. Then you start gushing and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. There's books that I've gotten and I've been like, I've had that reaction like, oh, you chose me? Really?
That's awesome. I love it when that happens though, that moment. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. There's a lot of memes, I'm sure, that I could point to and be like, yep, that's my face right there. That's what I
have a couple that I keep on staff for when we were like, oh, she's gonna, and there she goes, she's squeeing. Okay, good. Which of course in writing and text it's fine, but in person it's like, like that moment. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes, exactly. I'm sure I look ridiculous if anybody were ever to see me in person.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of seeing you in person,
yes,
you're going to be in Allure come this September. So you and I are going to see each other squealing. So is this going to be your first event / signing of sorts, specifically for audiobooks in general? I think because it is the first of its kind that is specifically for audiobooks. But I know a lot of other events have started to add narrators and audiobook concepts to their events.
Yes, it is going to be the first one that I've actually been at and signing at. So it's like part of me is so excited, and then part of me is like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like I hope I'm not, acting like a nerd or something, but I will, because I'll see a lot of narrators know, and probably authors too. But yes, I will be there. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And it's technically a local event, right? Because since you do live in the Chicago area.
Yeah. It's an easy drive for me. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now I know that a lot of people are excited about it because, again, first time that it's a focus on the listeners and the audiobook community as a whole.
It's so cool.
Yeah. And I know the listeners specifically are dying to be able to kind of get that combo of the author and the narrator in the same place. And so I know that's your first, but do you have like any goals and stuff like that for you when it comes down to these, for this event specifically? Like, I will get the guts to go up to.
I think, honestly, since it's my first one, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself because I know that I'll be nervous as it is. And I know, and I'm sure everybody will be a little bit nervous. So I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but I do hope that, I kind of ease into it and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. And that I'm not nervous, if that makes sense. Like, I want to make sure that the nerves get pushed away to the side, and then I can just go and be and enjoy my time.
So as someone that has gone to a lot of events, but also someone that's an introvert with social like extroverted tendencies. Yeah. The nerves hit at first when you're first there, but then you'll start people talking to you, and they'll start recognizing you. And then the whole like woohoo moment happens, and you completely forget because you realize that this is an entire community of like almost like friends that you haven't hung out with in a while. And that's definitely something that I've been told by a lot of readers and listeners, that when they do get together, it's that moment of, oh my God, I've known you for like 20 years. Not really, but it's, that feeling of it. And so, it's you'll ease into it. I think I'm nervous, and I've done these before, but it's going to be the first one that I've done since COVID hit. So it's been about 2.5 years that I've done anything. And I have to be the one talking to y'all because I'm the official podcast. Yeah. So I'm nervous too. Exciting. So we're in the same
we'll all
boat.
Be nervous together.
Yes, basically that's what I want to say is I think we're all nervous. From the narrators that have never been to an event to the narrators that have been to events, but it's been a while. And even then the authors, but also the listeners and the attendees are all going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to say something and fill in the blanks, or did I forget that book? Why won't my pen work?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, I just hope I remember to bring what I need. And, so I don't want to overthink it, but
no, it's going to be so much fun. I'm excited that you're going.
I am too.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. And I'll be including information on the post for those that may not be familiar with the Allure event. And if you guys want to come to hang out, with,
come say hi.
Allison, and come say hi to her, and maybe share some that you two are also a spreadsheet, nerd. And then, kind of go from there, or historical fiction nerd. I mean,
there's that.
There's a lot of things we have things to talk about.
We can nerd out about.
Absolutely.
I've got a list.
Yeah. So. So when you're not working and prepping for these upcoming events and all this other fun stuff that we do for jobs, when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
I like to, hang out with my family. And, I'm fortunate to live in a place where there's a lot of forest preserves. So I like to go for walks in the woods when I have time and the weather's good. I like to do that. I like sometimes just being at peace and hanging out is like what is most needed for that week, that month, whatever the case may be. So being able to just have some downtime to just take a deep breath and enjoy nature, or enjoy laughing with my kids and my husband, or whatever, laughing with friends, whatever the case is, that's what I enjoy doing. So, yeah.
So here's a good, fun question for you.
Okay, hit me.
There's usually a song that it doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. So if you're, in the aisle of a grocery store in the freezer section, or you're at the Target, as we were laughing about before, or in the car, But when that song comes up, you're, belting out the lyrics and singing, or you're doing the shimmy, shimmy dance down the aisle. What song is that for you?
This is a hilarious question because I probably have a whole Spotify list of these songs.
What's the name of that playlist? Is it
right?
public?
Yeah. No, right. Oh my God. That's so funny because I think depending on the person you ask who knows me, they would each give you a different answer. Like, I think my husband would say, Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard. I think I would say my question would be, or my answer would be, I think These Are Days by the 10,000 Maniacs. Kind of an oldie, but a goodie. I don't know. There's like sometimes the song will come on, I'll be like, yes, there you go. And it's your jam. I think I need to make that Spotify playlist public if it's not.
That would be fun.
Allison's Jams.
Yeah. Perfect. Exactly. The other thing I love to do with guests is play a game called Two Truths and a Lie.
Okay.
Where you tell us 3 things about you and we try to figure out which one's the lie. So when you're ready, tell us what those 3 things are about you and we'll try to figure this out.
All right. I gotcha.
Okay.
All right. So 2 truths and a lie. I have traveled to Pompeii, Chichen Itza, or Stonehenge. Cue Jeopardy music.
Oh my goodness. You went all out and you're like, I'm going to do one kind of question. Is that the answer or is that one of the facts?
Those are like the facts. Those are like the truths are in there and then the lie is in there.
Look at you. You're the first one to do this to me, lady.
Oh, am I?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's one of those, like I've traveled to Pompeii and then the list kind of goes on. Or those like, and then I've been bitten by a shark and I have 15 Siamese cats. Those are usually my 3 kind of like, that's where people go. But you went in a specific, I'm going to tell you where I've traveled to, and you got to pick which one of these exotic places is the lie.
Yes. Because I could, that's what I chose. So.
Yeah, so we did. All right, so let's go over that again. You said you've traveled to Pompeii.
Mm-hmm. Stonehenge, and Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza. Okay. I would say that the Chichen Itza one would be a lie, but no, is that the lie?
Yes, it is the lie. You did it. Yeah, that's right. It's on my bucket list to go there sometime. Not that I'm like, I travel all the time or anything, but yeah.
Girl, you've been to Pompeii.
Oh my gosh. I know. So lucky. Like, and I was like a kid. Like I was in high school. It was on a school trip. Like, who does that? Who takes high schoolers to Pompeii? Like, how amazing is that? But we got to go.
Was it part of like a language class?
It was part of like a history tour. And so it just happened to be one of the stops. Italy is loaded with history. And so it just happened to be one of the stops. And we're just happening to go to Pompeii this day. And so there we were.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Mm-hmm. I recently saw a documentary on Disney Plus that was all about Pompeii and a lot of the neighboring, cities and stuff like that and what happened and how they were preserved.
I watched that documentary too.
Yeah. And I was like mesmerized by how things are still to this day still being discovered and
isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm mortified. Like, why are you going down there?
Oh yeah.
Because I'm like, did anybody make sure it's structurally safe before you get down there with the cameras?
Well, yeah, there's that. Well, and that happens like in some of these ancient cities. Like, I watch a lot of documentaries.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good way to unwind. There was one where I think it might have been in Italy. I don't remember, but they were just like redoing the road and they like stumbled upon like an ancient city underneath. And it was like, what happened? I think it was in Greece.
Yeah.
But that was I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cause I just think it would be cool. Like, I don't know. like, oh, my backyard just happens to be the Colosseum or the ruins of whatever.
Right.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I mean, I think most of us get upset when we see like a root of a dead tree that's not there anymore. Yeah. We're going, really?
Right.
But in that documentary of Pompeii, I also noticed and realized how these ancient, historical buildings and basically not the whole building, but a structure of it is right next to the day-to-day roads.
Yes.
that, that you normally don't see in the romantic comedy films that you watch, how close the road is to like the Colosseum or some of these other structures. And I'm like, really? Because like for us here in the States, we like block the shit out of it.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And here, obviously we don't have a lot of the, we don't have Roman ruins in the United States, but, like our First Nation people, like a lot of that stuff was just, forget it, blow it, just go over it. Well, I read an article once, because Chicago used to be a big Native American trading hub, way back when. And there was, I guess, at one point, it's gone now, but at one point there was an Indian mound ceremonial site in downtown Chicago. They put the L tracks over it whenever they built the L tracks in, I don't know when. They just didn't find it as historically worthy. And I was like, what a shame. Because I used to live right by the streets that they were talking about. I was like, oh my God, it is pavement now, but holy cow, why would they do that? But
yeah, what we value sometimes, it's interesting. It's the same thing like in Savannah, Georgia. I've been there a few times now. And when, you're taking a tour of stores and you're like, and now you're standing over bodies that are probably still in the cemetery because, the cemetery wall is now over there, but technically it used to come up to here. And you're going, oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
It's like, wow, what we value. But I mean, again, it's like seeing that documentary of Pompeii in Italy and some of the other sites. I'm going, damn, right next to the ruins.
Yes.
Driving in scooters.
Like, there it is, kids.
There it is. It's the ruins. Let's go.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And the same thing similar to, so you've been to Stonehenge.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Was it like still open? Because I know sometimes they close it off.
We weren't able to get to the site. We could see it from basically the road or parking lot, but we weren't able to get up close to it. And and that's okay. I mean, it's, you can see it. It's what it is. It's, Stonehenge, not to take it for granted, but yeah, no, it was still cool to be there and in its presence, so to speak. So.
And then this third lovely option that's alive.
Yes.
What is it about that you want to go to it?
I don't know. It just seems cool. I just, I
love that.
It just seems cool. It seems cool to go. And it's kind of close. Like, you don't have to travel over an ocean, so to speak. I mean, I guess technically you do have to travel over an ocean, but I just think it would be fun. There's a lot of cool ruins and it seems like it would be a neat one to see. And I know that you can't climb the stairs anymore, but that would have been fun to do, to say you climbed to the top of the temple. So.
Yeah. But then again, I've seen some of those documentaries as well, and I'm going, I'm kind of glad we're not allowed. Because I know a friend. There's always going to be that friend in that group that's going to be like, let's go.
Right.
A Rocky moment up the stairs. I'm like, no. It's not just a flight of stairs of like 30. No, it's an entire building of stairs. It's like, no, not doing that, dude. But yeah, it's fun. But wow, girl, you went there.
I did.
Yes, I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. If you watch Disney Plus documentaries, there's a good one on kind of like on the Mayans. I think it's Mayans, and where he uses that LiDAR technology, and you can see like the foundations in the jungle of different towns and stuff. That one kind of blew me away. I'm not going to lie. That was pretty cool too.
Probably watched it, but it's been a while and I'm always looking for something to cleanse the palate.
Right now, yes, I'm the same.
Yeah. Cause right now I'm like, I think season 3 of Peaky Blinders, and while I'm loving it and stuff like that, at the same time, I'm going, girl needs to have a little bit of variety.
Yeah.
Similar to audiobooks, I'll do the romantic comedies. I'll jump into my PNR. I recently discovered that there is Omegaverse that's actually light and fluffy. And I'm like, yes. So
do you ever watch What We Do in the Shadows on Hulu?
No, but I'm adding it to my list.
Oh, that is hilarious. For those not familiar, it's about vampires. And so it's just, I just find it so funny. Like I'm sure I annoy my husband when I watch it because I just sit and giggle. But yeah, the season 3 or 4 just came out like a couple weeks ago. But
okay,
it's really fun.
Okay, good. Thanks for that. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
I'd love a good recommendation.
Yeah.
So before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on? What's coming up next for you that you can share? Because I know sometimes you guys are like, "Mum's the word."
Yes, I actually have a few things in the pipeline. But what's coming out in the near future, Owned by the Lost Boys by A.J. Merlin. That's a good one. It's kind of I don't want to say it's a horror romance because it's more like a dark romance, but there are some horror-ish elements to it. Discovered by Serenity Rain, which is a fantasy reverse harem romance. Gotta love those fantasy romances. And then I have a cute one called No Place Like Home by Eric Schubach. It's an urban fairy tale. This is actually probably my 31st or 32nd book that I've done with Eric Schubach. He's just been one of those authors that's been very loyal, and I love working with him. But this series is all different fairy tale characters. And this particular book, No Place Like Home, is like a spin on Dorothy and Toto in The Wizard of Oz. So that one should be out any day now.
Nice. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And then my pseudo has some too. I don't know if.
Yeah, I know. Let's keep them a mystery.
Okay.
You know, but I know that I think they do have a couple of fun ones coming up too, from what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you record as well. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I want the listeners to do their homework.
Okay,
I love you guys.
That's fun. Yeah, there's some good ones. Like lately, it seems like my pseudo has been getting a lot of work. So if you like the steamy, sexy times romances, there's some good ones coming out.
Okay. So. Does your pseudo do a lot more like the darker romance stuff than, or just a mixture of the romance? Because
it's a mixture. Pseudo. My alter ego.
Yeah.
She tends to do the stuff that's a little more steamy. Mm-hmm. Maybe falls more into the erotica category. Okay. Yeah. But I've done me personally, I've done dark romance. And I say I don't mind it. Yeah, it's fun to do because it's kind of like suspenseful and thrillery.
Oh yeah, that's true. Cool. Well, that has been great, and I appreciate you sharing that. I know the listeners are like, "But what's her pseudonym?"
Oh,
and I'm like, I'm not going to share it with you. It's secret. If they post that on social media and today I am sharing my pseudonym. That's on you all.
Yes.
Okay, that's on you guys. And it's also different. And sometimes when you're at events, I've had that happen where I'm going. I've sat there and I've listened to the listeners. They're like, "Oh my God, I love this stuff. And you really should do some of this, and this." And then they kind of like lean in and they're like, "Well, my alter ego, so-and-so does that." And they're like, "No." So again, because it's not social media, should not be getting busted of sorts, but they're like, "Oh, I know a secret." And the listeners are like, "Yes, we know a secret." And so those are always fun too, but
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In person, if you come to Allure, I can share with you my pseudo. How about that?
See? That's a good little incentive. We should come up with a code word or something for them. No, I'm just kidding.
That's so funny.
Since you like the cozy mysteries, have a password or something.
Yes, that's funny. Somebody will come up to the table and be like, "You said on the podcast that you would share with me."
Yeah,
and I would tell you.
Yeah, because it's a little different. It's a
little different.
Blast.
Yeah, you're in person.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And especially when the conversations because I thought what I love it is when the listeners share that, "Oh my God, your voice is so great. You have you ever thought about fill in the blank, either style of writing or genre or author?" And, sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. And others I'm like, well, my alter ego does blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So those are always fun moments.
Of course.
Even as a listener, I've had that done to me. I'm like, oh my God, really? So yeah, it's fun. Well, thank you so much, Allyson, for taking the time to hang out with me today and with the listeners and sharing all this fun time with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so much fun. And the time goes by so fast.
It does.
Sometimes when you're having fun. But yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will be seeing you officially in person in September for Allure, and probably, doing some lives there too, because, those are going to be fun.
Oh, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So guys, if you're going in the Chicago area, if you want to travel to an event, Allure is going to be the hit place to be come September. So I will. Yeah.
September in the city is beautiful too.
Good. Yeah. I think the last time I went to Chicago, when was it? I think it was like April or May. And thankfully I took a jacket. Being from Florida, it's not really that cold down here during that time, but oh my God, you guys are cold because of the lake. Yeah. So prepare, people, prepare. But thank you again for taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Viviana.
And I will be including all of her social media information and website for you guys to make sure that you're following her, check in, and all that fun stuff over at the episodes post at Viviana Enchantress of Books. And until next time, happy listening.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Michelle Bastard,
Brandy Schmidt, April Branson.
The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookloving. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.